Welcome back to Iraqi Dinar Updates, your trusted source for the latest and most relevant news impacting the Iraqi dinar, Iraq's economy, and the region at large. In today's update, we bring you something quite serious, something that deserves our attention as investors, as followers of Iraq's future, and as people who care about stability in the Middle East. If you've been following the news lately, especially surrounding the rising tensions between Israel and Iran, then you already know this isn't just noise. This is something very real, very dangerous, and it's happening in a region where Iraq sits directly in the middle. As IQD investors, we can't ignore this because what affects Iraq affects our investment, our strategy, and our expectations moving forward. Let's get straight to the point. We're now receiving almost daily reports surrounding the escalating conflict between Israel and Iran, and these aren't just political jabs or empty threats. This is serious movement, with both sides increasing military activity, issuing direct warnings, and preparing for possible confrontations that could drag the entire region into chaos. Iraq, unfortunately, sits in a strategic position between these two powers, and that means it's caught in the geopolitical crossfire whether it wants to be or not. The latest development out of Baghdad is especially alarming and also very telling. The Iraqi government has officially begun educating the public on nuclear safety. Yes, you heard that right, nuclear safety procedures. They're instructing civilians on shelter protocols, emergency preparedness, and even the use of iodine tablets, which are typically distributed in cases where radiation exposure becomes a threat. That's not a small step. That's not precautionary behavior for a hypothetical scenario years away. That is immediate action for something the government clearly views as a near-term possibility. This kind of messaging doesn't come lightly. In fact, it speaks volumes about just how close the region may be to a devastating turning point. Iraq is not taking any chances. By informing its citizens and preparing protocols for what to do in the event of nuclear fallout, the message is clear: the government sees the risk as real. And for us, as observers and investors, this is a red flag we simply cannot ignore. But here's where things get interesting and somewhat surprising. Despite this tense, volatile atmosphere, the Iraqi dinar is holding strong. In fact, it's slightly higher than usual. That's right. Amid all this uncertainty, the IQD isn't crashing. It's maintaining its value, and even showing resilience. That says a lot about the underlying confidence within Iraq's financial system, and perhaps even about external support from international partners who understand how critical Iraq is in this equation. So what does this all mean for us, for you as someone who follows the IQD and is invested in Iraq's economic progress? It means we're sitting in the middle of a geopolitical tightrope. On one side, we have a country slowly rebuilding, pushing for economic reform, increasing trade, and stabilizing its currency. On the other side, we have a growing regional conflict that could disrupt everything in the blink of an eye. We've said it before, and we'll say it again: Iraq is not an isolated case. Iraq is the centerpiece of the Middle East. It borders Iran, it neighbors Syria and Turkey, and it's positioned along major oil and trade routes that the entire world relies on. If this conflict were to escalate into something larger, especially if it goes nuclear, Iraq won't just be affected, it will be on the front lines. And the Iraqi government knows this. That's why it's not waiting. That's why they're not downplaying the risk. They're taking action now, preparing civilians, spreading public awareness, and strengthening civil defense mechanisms before it's too late. For us, this is the time to stay informed. Not to panic, not to jump to conclusions, but to watch closely. Because while we've seen conflict in the region before, this situation feels different. The rhetoric is sharper, the moves are bolder, and the stakes are both for human life and for regional economic stability are higher than they've been in years. Yet in the middle of all this, the Iraqi dinar is still standing. That alone is something to consider. While the world watches the Israel-Iran conflict with growing concern, Iraq's financial system is showing signs of cautious optimism or at the very least, resilience. That gives us a thread of hope, even as the clouds begin to darken. We've also seen recent signs that Iraq is continuing its integration with international trade systems like the TAR agreement, improving customs operations, and facilitating regional cooperation. Those efforts don't stop just because of political instability. If anything, Iraq is racing against time to solidify its infrastructure, modernize its economy, and position itself as a stabilizing force in a region that desperately needs it. But again, let's be clear, if the worst happens, if this conflict boils over into something catastrophic, all of that progress could be at risk. So we watch, we listen, we prepare. To all of you in the IQD community, stay alert, stay engaged, and stay connected. This isn't a time to fall asleep at the wheel. It's a time to double down on facts, ignore the hype, and keep our eyes on the bigger picture. Because no matter what happens, whether peace holds or conflict breaks loose, Iraq is a key player in this unfolding drama. And as always, what concerns Iraq concerns us. So, let's keep hoping for peace. Let's continue believing in Iraq's path toward prosperity. But let's also respect the gravity of this moment and recognize the risks that come with it. Thank you for watching Iraqi Dinar Updates, where we bring you honest, timely, and detailed analysis of everything that matters to your investment and to Iraq's future. We'll continue tracking this situation as it unfolds, and we'll be here to keep you updated every step of the way. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss any critical updates. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and stay hopeful.